Well, here's a headline you might have heard, but a breakdown you're going to rarely hear. $1 billion more in U.S. military aid to Ukraine. Weapons expert urges. Negotiations versus military-first approach. And that's a Democracy Now! Of June 16th, 2022. And that's a viewpoint we've rarely ever hear in any of our conflicts. Warning against this military-first approach and arguing for negotiations. Citing from that article, the U.S. has announced another $1 billion in military equipment to Ukraine, adding to the billions in military aid. And here they interview William Hartung of the Quincy Institute for responsible statecraft. Well, from that interview, this extra billion comes in addition to $15 billion already sent over, and most of that, or at least around half, is military. In addition to members of Congress, like I believe he cited James Inhofe, calling for even more military spending on top of Biden's already really massive military budget, which my understanding is higher than even at the height of the Cold War. Well, here's what's important what our media is basically leaving out. 1, campaign contributions. Just go to Open Secrets. Underreported, anybody could look this up. The defense industry campaign contributions total at almost $50 million, with slightly more going to Republicans. 2, lobbying money. I cited for you a 1998 article from the New York Times showing there was massive lobbying back in the 90s to expand NATO after the collapse of the Soviet Union, because basically, or to paraphrase, elements of the defense industry were worried that peace was going to break out. So here we see the seeds of future conflict, as well as conflict as a self-fulfilling prophecy. 3, defense industry ties of so-called experts who speak on the news media are rarely exposed. Example 1 I give you from the Intercept, Condoleezza Rice, who is often quoted and served on the board of directors of C3AI, a defense contractor. And I've cited to you before from Mother Jones, but also at Open Secrets, Lloyd Austin himself was on the board at Raytheon. Number 4 financial interest is CEO salaries. I cited to you from the Center for International Policy that the average CEO pay at defense industry contractors is $20 million. Remember that one, $20 million. Well, that's a lot of financial incentive for conflict, unexamined, unexposed by a media that I believe must have ties to the defense industry, be it through interlocking board of directors or some other way. They also systematically, in my opinion, and Noam Chomsky's opinion, that's who I got this idea from in the first place, underreport our role in fueling conflict. So hence underreported our overtures or promises to the former Soviet Union, hey, you guys break up and you give up your communism and don't worry, we're not going to expand NATO. Or promises to China, yeah, you guys can reunite with Taiwan, you open up to business interests, Western American business interests, and everything's going to be kumbaya. And instead, we strengthen our military ties with Taiwan and increase our troop presence in Asia. It's never framed that way. And another lesson, you should think about the mindset that Republicans and Democrats can come together for these massive defense so-called outlays, which in some ways are really just subsidies to $20 million CEO salaries, but they can't get together or agree on policies that would directly benefit humanity, like a Green New Deal, which is mocked resoundingly by outlets like Fox News and many within the Republican Party. The aspects of Joe Biden's Build Back Better that would have scaled us away from fossil fuels, as well as his infrastructure bill, severely weakened. And Greenpeace showed that was in part at least due to lobbying efforts from ExxonMobil, but again, not exposed. And as far as we go on the topic of the long-term survival of our species, who's the ally for space settlement or setting up a colony on the moon or something of that nature? No one. That'll be mocked even more. So look, I hope you found this analysis super interesting and helpful. And until next time, please make sure you're subscribed to my channel. You've clicked the notification bell. You're commenting. You're liking. You're donating to Patreon because, boy, this is a heck of a lot of work for very little anything in it for the host here. A lot of sacrifice. And until next time, and as always, peace be with you.